All right, let's talk with the Cowboys COO, Stephen Jones, about that topic and others as he joins us for the Stephen Jones Show, Fridays right here on your home of the Cowboys. Thanks for joining us, sir. Good afternoon to you.
Hey, guys. Great being on.
So, we were talking a little Leighton and Randy earlier. How much were they able to do, and what's it going to mean for the defense?
Well, they both looked great. Obviously, Randy can't return until after this week to finish out his situation. But Leighton, we feel like has a great opportunity. It'll be final game time decision. But, boy, he sure looked really good out there. You know, he only played half a game, so we've got to be careful working him back into the mix. But, hopefully he's a go, and hopefully we'll get him, some significant playing time.
Stephen, I keep trying to tell these. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I keep
trying. Both had a great week of practice, and Randy really stood out, and obviously with the new staff, they were pleasantly surprised in terms of what his skill set was, and then of course Leighton goes without saying. He's one of the top players on our team, a leader, and it's great to have them both back.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think we got a little bit of a delay, so I'll be aware of that throughout our conversation. But it's getting kind of late after 5 weeks, but there's still plenty of time for this defense to come around and be pretty dang good, isn't there?
I think there is. I think we're only going to get better. I mean, anytime you got a new staff, and no excuses here. I mean, everybody had the same situation, but in particular, our defense, we put in a new system. The offense was different. We went with Kellen, and for the most part, a lot of the same verbiage and language, and a lot easier transition in my mind on the offensive side than the defensive side. And then, of course, you weren't able to, just like 31 others, you weren't able to have the mini camps and quarterback schools, and time to really work and for our players to really digest the system and what we were trying to accomplish. So, yes, I think we've got really good players. We're getting a lot of them back, and I think they're understanding every week more and more what we're trying to accomplish. We certainly saw parts of that come into play against the Giants, and even though we got off to a slow start again with the turnovers, we've got to get that out of our system. I do think this defense has a chance to improve every week and be a solid defense before we're done.
Stephen, what do you think are reasonable or fair expectations to set for Randy Gregory with as much football as he's missed?
Well, he's been a guy who's missed before and come back and played well. And at the same time, though, we've got to work him in. We've got to be smart about, how he works in. Certainly Alden Smith, got the full acclimation period and was able to come off sitting out for even longer than Randy has and played really well. But I don't think it's fair to hold anyone to that standard. He came in and certainly, jumped right into it right away. But, these guys are, whether it's Alden, whether it's Randy, they're gifted athletes, that know how to play the game, and they have tremendous athletic ability and skill sets. And but at the same time, you got to be smart and don't set the expectations too high. Just let them get in there and go to work, and as they make progress, give them more.
Stephen, I brought this up before about how you like to protect yourself with your roster and the way you try and build it. Can you walk us through when Andy Dalton became available last spring? How did that all come about? Was that something that's like, listen, we got Cooper Rush, we've invested in him, but was it just too good of an opportunity to move on from him and to add Andy Dalton here for these types of situations?
Yeah, when Coach McCarthy came in, he obviously, really was fired up about that. But at the same time, his goal with us, when we started working through the roster and what his strategies were at Green Bay and how he had success, his thought process was, he'd like to draft one. And certainly we looked at that throughout the draft like we do most years. And, probably a couple times we were looking at quarterbacks that got taken before we had a chance to get them. But certainly drafting DiNucci was one of the guys he really liked, as he likes some mobility to go with, the quarterback IQ and the football IQ. But so that was one of his goals. And then the other was to get a more veteran-type quarterback. And certainly he understood our cap situation and that we, probably weren't going to be in the mix for, the backup quarterbacks that were, some of the bigger dollar. It required bigger dollars. But when Dalton became available and his pedigree and what he's been all about in Cincinnati, he's won a lot of football games, led his teams to playoffs, and then on top of the fact it was late in the game and he understood that, and he's a Texas man, and he wanted to come to Dallas, and felt like it was a good situation for us, as most teams between the draft and what they had done in free agency were pretty set at their starting position. He felt like Dallas was the right spot for him. So, just a good fit all the way around, and certainly now we're going to benefit from that. I think everybody got a good taste of what Dalton can do for us, and stepped into a situation in a tight game where we needed really excellent quarterback play, and thought he really stepped up and did that. I think he was something like 9 out of 11, and certainly let us down on that last drive with some great throws, and showed great poise. And, the biggest thing of all is our players have confidence in him, that he can do the job. And, we were visiting this week with our coaching staff, and, just asking them how much things are, how much are we going to have to change, and really not much at the end of the day, if anything. So it's a good situation for us. He's not unlike Dak. He's a special guy off the field, and obviously has the skill sets to play in this league.
Stephen, we've kind of gotten used to over the years where finding capable quarterback play seems really, really hard, but you have Andy Dalton as your backup, Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota. It was kind of a weird offseason in that way where there was even a surplus of maybe starting caliber guys. Is that going to become the norm, or was that just a kind of a strange year?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, we'll have to see how that plays out. I don't necessarily have my crystal ball. I do think, these college quarterbacks are coming out ready to go, as we see, whether it's a Kyler Murray, whether it's a Joe Burrow, whether it's a Patrick Mahomes. These guys are playing in these high-powered, prolific passing offenses, and certainly I think the NFL's adopting a lot of what, or at least some of, pieces of what college is doing. So certainly it does put you in a situation where there's more and more players that may fit what these teams are doing. Obviously, we're getting ready to play a team here in the Cardinals that have taken a guy who most people wouldn't have said, was just not prototypical and would struggle to play in the league 5-10 years ago. And here he is playing at a very high level and going to give us a lot of challenges when we play him Monday night. He's just a talented young man who's a winner. He makes plays with his feet. At the same time, he's keeping his eyes down the field and he'll throw strikes down the field. He's got a big arm and came right into Arizona and played early and often, and certainly has just gotten better.
Stephen, with the trade deadline and approaching, and you're one of those guys that you're willing to be aggressive if you have to within reason. You've told us that before. Are you finding that people are more willing to are they willing to do player deals with you, player swaps, or are they more interested in what you have with draft capital with the picks?
I think every team's different. Some teams, as you know, Brian, are in the mix and feel like they have a chance to make a difference this year. Some teams are more, it's early, but I think may have their eye on the future and may be looking more for picks. I think every team's different. And I think you just got to see where your value is, see if there's a situation that works for us in terms of that value, whether it be a pick or a player who can help us this year. Obviously, we've had some injuries that have created challenges for us, but at the same time, I think Coach McCarthy and his staff and our team has done a good job of moving forward. And hats off to Will and our scouting staff. I think we've, as you said, I think we've done a good job of having players who can step up and do the job when you lose some really strong players like we have.
It's Stephen Jones with us here on The Fan. Is it fair to say that with the COVID concerns and maybe the salary coming down and the uncertainty of Dak's deal, it's difficult to allocate a significant amount of money here at the trade deadline for like a veteran that could be coming in?
We've got to watch the situation, no question. It's got to be something that makes a lot of sense for us in terms of making us a better team. And, is it short-term, long-term? All those things are big question marks, and something that we'll weigh as we look at each situation. As you said, no one knows what this cap situation is going to be like next year, other than we know we're starting at a certain point that's less than we probably thought it would be, and we'll see where that lands. And we certainly have to be prepared to meet that threshold if that's what it requires. So it is a challenge.
What can you share with us about what the NFL is thinking with more coronavirus positives coming in? Is this changing the course at all at this point?
I think it's more, just eyes wide open. I will say this: our doctors, our scientists, our people at the league level did a great job of, I think, putting the proper protocols in place. At the same time, they knew we weren't going to go a year without, having some challenges and having positive tests. And so I think it would have been naive to think you could have had any situation, bubble, no bubble. And we've seen it in the other leagues where, you have positive tests. I think the biggest message here, as we see these things, whether it be in college, whether it be at our level, is, you have to continue to be diligent and follow the protocols and wear the masks and do the social distancing and do the things the league has put in place. And as we've been able to do so far, we've got every game either has been played or slated or rescheduled in a window that works. So we'll just continue to be diligent. We'll continue to look at the protocols. And I know as a league and as an organization and as 31 others are doing, we're looking where we can be better and where, we can cut back on the chances that something, that we get an outbreak in the virus. But we just have to be diligent in the protocol. And I think these positives that you're seeing get everybody's attention. And you understand that you've got to be eyes wide open at all times.
Stephen, where are you with running quarterback relative to Dak's injury now in the future? Does that cool you off of that a little bit?
In terms of, I missed the question. I'm sorry.
In terms of a quarterback running, or will you be more on the side of, hey, we got to keep this guy in the pocket and a mobile quarterback can equate to injury?
I think it does. It always opens you up, gets your attention when you get one hurt, and it probably does everybody. Whether it's a Cam Newton getting hurt, who's, even probably even bigger than Dak. These guys are running against players that are just as big and just as fast, and you certainly want to be selective as to where you put your quarterback in harm's way. And who would have thought it would have been a defensive back that would, that would have been involved in an injury with Dak? I'm sure he's thinking, hey, this is a DB, I got this, and I can't. He didn't say that necessarily to me, but I was thinking that, I know. But you certainly you've got to be so careful where you do put that quarterback in harm's way. But at the same time, there's the right time to do it. They do it with Mahomes uses his feet. The guy we're going to play Sunday, Kyler Murray, uses his. Lamar Jackson, obviously one of the best at it. These are all things that you measure versus success when you're looking at this.
Well, thanks for your perspective on these topics. Best of luck Monday night and have a great weekend.
Thanks a lot, guys. Y'all have a great weekend, too.